In our previous video, we introduced 3 revised builds for combat against Thargoid Titans. It's just really a theory video, however, that goes through EDC and a series of configurations that essentially asks to take our word for the fact that they are good, even though many commanders by this point have live tested them against Tyrannus already, and at least the feedback I've personally been given is that they've been performing actually quite nicely. Now that we had a little bit of time to take them out for a spin at Titan Leigong, however, and with some additional experience from combat against Tyrannus to inform how to fly them, we take them out today for some live fire trials. So how do they perform? Extremely well, I will say. Each ship is built with a different and specific role in mind. Now, if you look at the overarching statistics, you will see that the TitanKiller version 2.0b, the bomber version of a Krait Mk2, has the highest overall core damage per cycle. It also has, and this is a very important statistic, the overarching higher damage per dive into the maelstrom. Why is this third statistic so important? The reason that damage per dive, and this is measured as damage to the core per dive, is important is that it actually takes quite a bit of time to get to Titans, especially with the remaining Titans being much further from the drop points. And since interdictions haven't really relented, it can take upward of 10 minutes to get from your carrier to the Titan proper. So once you actually get there, you want to make sure that you're able to stay there and do as much damage while you're there, rather than having to constantly come and go, because that would overarchingly destroy your productivity as far as damage to the core is concerned. So this statistic of damage per dive, or armor piecing damage per dive, since we don't really know what the armor resistance of the core is, we just take the AP of a weapon and multiply it by the damage to give this value that would be divided by the armor resistance of the thermal core once it is discovered, to give you an idea of how much damage these weapons do as far as their entire ammo stocks are concerned. So, and not surprisingly, the bomber version of a Krait Mk2 is the one that hits the hardest. With that being said, it is also the one that has the least utility. It does not have a thermal vent beam laser, has no shields. It's quite resilient even without shields, and it remains overall most likely the best ship for beginners or for individuals who are at their first experiences with Thargoid Titans. The second variant, the fighter variant, does about half as much damage to the core if and when it focuses on the core. But I would say it's almost kind of unimportant in the grand scheme of things, because the main purpose of the fighter is not to do damage to the core directly, but rather to act as an escort that is able to take down scouts, glaives, and also interceptors as needed to keep the skies clear so that the bombers can do their thing. The third variant, the Mamba, is somewhere in between. It does 20% core damage and has 1.28 million AP damage per dive, which is notably less than the TitanBomber version. However, the great benefit of the TitanBomber Mamba is that it has shields and it has a concordant-sequence effect pulse laser. The shield and the concordant-sequence effect pulse laser, if used properly in a wing, this is my personal opinion, will give the Mamba build higher survivability in larger instances compared to the Kraits. Now, again, that is subjective, it varies. If you're flying flawlessly and you have a still relatively small instance, you're more likely than not going to be able to work with Kraits and get away with Kraits with the repair limpets capabilities that they have. However, if you happen to land in a larger, messy instance, I personally find that the concordant sequence effect that wing members can use to keep each other's shields pretty much permanently topped up is incredibly useful with the Mamba. So with that being said, and with the fact that all 3 builds perform very, very well in Titan space, and you can really use any of these 3, and furthermore, you can modify any of these 3s to suit your likings, we'll now go into the videos of the live trials of the 3 builds, noting that each of these 3 builds has proven capable to take all 8 vents in one particular cycle. So you really need just one of these bombers in an instance. If you want to take all those vents, you can do it entirely by yourself. Noting that I personally found that it is much easier to do so in the Mamba than in the Kraits. The Mamba, because the turret, the nanite torpedo turret, is on the top of the Mamba, you can effectively like orbit downwards as you're cycling through the vents of the Titan, which I personally find incredibly more natural and easier to do. The Mamba also has a significantly higher velocity unboosted as compared to the Krait, which helps for something that is otherwise pretty tight. But as I mentioned, it hardly matters as both builds are provenly capable to take all 8 vents once you figure out a little bit of a pattern and how to do it. One of the tricks that I personally learned while doing this is that the torpedoes are actually turrets. So you don't need to keep staring at the vent while you're firing away your torpedoes. You can lock onto it and then look away and start boosting to your next target. Once you hear the beep of the lock going off, you can fire your torpedo and move on to your next target. And that generally allows you to get 1 or 2 more vents in any given cycle, especially if you're able to stick pretty close to the center of a Titan and thus minimizing the distance you need to travel. With that being said, enough of me talking. Enjoy the showcase and let us know in the comments below what your experience is with this build. If you have any suggestions or feedback, these are very new and we're incorporating and refining them as we go. And finally, if you enjoy these videos, please remember to like and subscribe. Enjoy!